Pirates have long fascinated the minds of men. Rebellious, adventurous, and free-spirited, they carved their own path in the world. After serving 10 years in the Navy, I took the plunge to write my own story. Since then, I've learned directly from some of the most savvy marketers in the game. My name is Ben Perry, and welcome to the Pirate Marketing Podcast. All right. So today's episode is going to be super tactical, practical, strategic. I might even just cut this video out and maybe even just make it a standalone training, if you will, because what I'm going to do is I'm essentially just going to peel back the curtain as to what I actually did to help my client last year start up and then grow his high ticket consulting business to 1.4 million in 11 months. So there were certain things that needed to happen, and I'm just going to dive right into it. So there's a couple of things that need to happen first. Okay, so if you are somebody who has a course, or if you have people who are following you and they are paying you for your advice, if they're paying you for your wisdom, for your knowledge, then this is for you. If you are helping people in a done with you format, whereas it's not just the course, but you also have some coaching elements with it, this is for you. And if you already have a sales team, or you already have, where you're selling it maybe yourself, a high ticket offer, I think this would be super valuable for you. And I say this both having come from an 8-figure digital marketing consultancy where we scaled up hundreds of businesses, and then also from my own personal experience helping to scale up my client from last year. So everything that I'm about to share with you has either already been tested or has been proven, and we have results to back it up. All right. So first of all, you need to already have a product or service that's helping people. And then you need to get yourself a sales rep. Now you could start with a part-time sales rep, or you could go for a full-time sales rep. What I would recommend is that if you're taking calls, or if you're not taking calls and you're expecting to have a closer take calls, I wouldn't do it until you are at least generating at least 20 to 30 leads a week, or anywhere between 80 to 100 leads a month, just so you can give your sales rep the opportunity to be able to make this worth their while. So I would say that because if you are expecting organic to work, unless that is already an experienced closer where they're used to going and setting their own deals, then you're going to want to be able to provide, you're going to want to be able to feed that sales rep. Now, good sales reps will be able to come in. They'll be able to, if you have a Facebook group, which would be ideal, that's the next thing. They can farm that Facebook group and they can set their own deals. But if you don't have that, then I would spend the money on ads in order to make sure that you're providing that positive lead flow. And again, the leads need to be in a direction of being qualified. Now, what being qualified is up to you, and that's going to be the next thing we talk about here, which is your price point should be high enough for two reasons. One, to attract committed clients. The higher the price point, the more of a committed client that you're going to attract. The less clients you actually have to deal with, which I think is great, because less client fulfillment means you don't have to, break fulfillment. But you're going to attract a higher committed client. The more they pay, the more that they will pay attention. And you'll also, the other reason for having a high price point is you will attract premium closers so that they can get a higher commission. Normally, I think the industry standard is around 10%. Some people do a little bit less. I know that Sniper does 9% commissions, and some other people, have been known to go up to 15%, especially if like the volume is really high and the value is there. All right. So if you're selling a course and it's like with my client last year, they were selling it for $2,000. They wanted to raise it to $12,000. It was the first time that this had really been rolled out in scale and started to, sell people at this new 12K price point, which it made sense when we started to bring other closers on because, we were paying out 10% of 12K. You do the math, that made sense for those closers. And, the one thing I have to say about my client is that he really prided himself in being one of the most competitive offers that were out there. He wanted to attract the best, and he also paid the best. And he also, we can talk about bonuses and bonus structure later on. Next thing that you're going to need is you're going to need a CRM to analyze and track deals, pipeline, and client success journeys. So it's not just enough to have a pipeline using the CRM for your closers pipeline. You need that so that not only can your closer or multiple closers as you begin to scale up are able to look at their pipeline, but you need to be able to go in there and look at them yourself. And you need to be able to read and understand what is going on, because in order to manage that sales team, you've got to be able to call them out, right? And identify areas that they're doing well and identify areas where they could be improving. Related to this is not related to the CRM, but in sales management, there's different ways to be able to have your closer kind of summarize their day. What we found is just a quick blurb at the end of the day. What went well, what didn't go well, and what did we learn? All right. So along with the CRM for potential deals, you want to have another CRM or another pipeline, if you will, for the people that you close. Now, I'm going to recommend for your high ticket offer that it could be anywhere between 8 to 12 weeks. That's the time period that I would recommend selling somebody into a done with you service. And the reason why is because I think the 8 to 10 week mark it's short enough to get people to get their ass in gear, knowing that the timeline is going to expire. So they need to get in there and they need to really get after it in order to get results. And also around the 8 to 10 week mark is when you could be reaching out to them and asking them, hey, how has your time been in the program? And then you can identify whether this is a person that you would like to upgrade into your back end offer. Because remember, if you're going to be putting it and starting a high ticket sales offer, most of the money is going to be made on the back end. So you want to make sure that client success is doing their job and letting the time period be between 8 to 10 weeks gives you enough time to properly upgrade that person, schedule a call, so on and so forth. So having that CRM for the client success side is super important. It's super important because you want to know where this client is at on their journey. You want to make sure you want to be checking in with them, because in my experience, when you start to enroll people in high ticket, there's from what I've seen, there's 3 different tiers where people fall into. They will either pay in full, they will do a split pay, or if you're doing a 3 pay or more, that's the third option. People who pay in full have a high likelihood of paying and then disappearing and hiding. It is the strangest thing. They pay the money and then they're gone. So If you want to eventually upgrade that person, you need to make sure that your client success team is following up that person, making sure that they don't hide, because the most awkward conversation that you could possibly create is it sending a closer in to a prospect, or excuse me, to a client who has signed up, but then thus subsequently hid throughout the full 10, 12 week program. And the next time they're hearing from you is when you want more money. So don't do that. That's why the client success side of the portal is so important. All right. So we're talking about what you need if you want to stand up a high ticket consulting offer specifically around done with you. Okay. You're going to need a coach that teaches on your main topic. Okay. You can't be the one that's doing all of the coaching. You might feel a sense of purpose and that this is your passion. But if you want to create a business that's actually running and can run without you, you can't be the one that's doing all the fulfillment. Now, you might hear this and say, but there's no way, like there's no way that I can't coach. It's part of my DNA. Like put pitchforks down. I'm not telling you that you don't have to coach. What I am saying is for your initial front end offer, hire a coach or hire a couple of coaches that can take the bulk of that first kind of, offer. And then for your back end offer is where you can do more of your coaching, right? That's where you can go be in your element. But in doing this, we are creating status, right? So we are sending people through the different tiers, and it needs to be like access to you can't be easy. And the harder it is to get to you, the more that people are willing to pay. So hire a couple of coaches. Couple of things you could do is you could do a mindset call. So you can have a coach that specifically comes in for mindset. You have a coach that deals with whatever industry you're in. So like say you're doing Amazon FBA, you're teaching on Amazon FBA. If you're teaching on like how to secure land deals, you can have a coach that specifically is like, that's their niche. And sometimes those coaches can also be the mindset coaches as well. If you're providing ads like help, there could be ads like a tech and ads call. And if you're helping at all with sales, you could have a sales call. So those are the different areas as far as hiring coaches. And what I've seen is that, it just depends on where you're at in scaling up. But sometimes, those coaches are paid $1,000 a month to show up 4 times a month for a single 1 hour call, all the way to $5,000 a month. If they're really involved or if they are like tracking the success of your clients, which leads me to the next thing that you're going to need to have. And that is hire a client success manager. The client success manager is there to be able to essentially be the person who's responsible for the results of your clients. And they're also the ones who are like delegating and managing the other coaches. So you are the business owner, and yes, you're helping and you're client facing in the back end offer, but your client success manager is there specifically to make sure that people are going through the program, they're being engaged, they're keeping tabs on them so that they get the result that they say that they wanted. Okay. There's been programs out there where people show up, they pay, and then they disappear, and there's no accountability. There's no going after them at all. So that's the reason for the client success manager. Let's see. If you're going to start your high ticket coaching offer and you want to have sales reps come in, you need to have a third party phone like service that can record conversations. Why? So that you can review the calls, so that your closers can review the calls, and so that your sales manager can review those calls, so that you can review and get better. Whenever you call into an 800 number or you call into customer service and they say, this call is being recorded for quality assurance, that's because they are reviewing those calls, hopefully, in the pursuit of wanting to be better. And if you're selling a high ticket, and in this case, I would say high tickets, anything, that is, if you want to attract a higher quality closer, you want to have a higher quality price point. But some people say it's over 2,000. High tickets, anything over 2,000. I'd say it doesn't really make sense. I feel for you to charge anything less than 5K. But anyway, the point is you need a third-party phone app that records those that they can use to call, right? They use a dedicated number to call out, and it's a dedicated texting number, and they're not using their own actual phones. Like if you have an offer and you're having your closers use their own phones, that is a recipe for disaster because things just get muddled, things get confused. Keep it all within your CRM. I think like close.io has texting and emailing and everything all, and also calling all within that CRM. I think Go High Level also does the same thing. Just pay for it. Pay for the premium, and because it will save you a lot of heartache and headache in the long run. Okay, I'm flying through this pretty fast because this is like a data dump of what do you need to know in order to properly start up a high ticket coaching and consulting offer. So when it comes to, I guess, you beginning to run ads, it's like, make sure that those ads that are being run there's two different kind of schools of thought here. So the ad can lead to an app, which leads to them booking a call, or it can lead to booking a call and then they fill out an app. In my experience, it's better to have the person fill out the application first of all the qualifying questions and then have them book their time versus the other way around. Because some people, when they see a calendar, right, say they're doom scrolling on Facebook or Instagram, they come across an ad, and then the first thing that they want to do is to book a call with you. I think that is like going for marriage a little too soon. What I would recommend is have them fill out the application first. And then even the way that application is set up, I wouldn't have all the questions on one single page, especially if somebody's on their phone, which 90% of people are when they go through your ad. I would use something like Typeform where it only presents one question at a time. I think Jotform also does the same thing. One question at a time. You're not overloading the person. You're not, doing something, crazy and getting them confused. But get them to do the application and then have them book. Now, they might not book. They might not, end up booking a time. But here's the thing. They gave you their name. They gave you their email address. They gave you their phone number in the application. So it's very easy for one of your closers or one of your setters to call up that person and say, hey, I noticed that you started to, fill out an application to possibly get some help around whatever it is that you're selling. And then it's easy to re-engage with that person. All right. So when you run your ads, that's what I would recommend. I'm not going to get too deep into the copy and the way the ads weren't run, because that's not really my wheelhouse. But I will say that your marketing, right, when somebody signs up for your ads, you want to have at least 30 days of email like campaign that can drip to that person that will push them to a call. Okay. So, some people sign up right away whenever they see an ad. And then some people will come in through your email campaigns. And if your email campaigns are doing a very good job of showing case studies, saying, hey, book a call now, then that's another way for your closers to be able to be fed leads. Okay. So after that, that is the marketing process. Okay. But there's also something called the sales process. And the sales process, I would say the marketing, the ads and the way that marketing is set up, it's like a handoff. So you want to make sure that everything is kind of funneling people to book an application, to book a call. But then once they book the call and it shows up on a closer's calendar, now we've just handed this off to the sales department. And the sales department needs to have a robust call process that allows you to send that person relevant marketing materials that will get that person closer to the buying pocket. So if you're somebody who has a relatively large following, that's great. But once you go through that top 3% that are kind of ready to buy now, you're going to have the rest of the 97% that are not aware of you. They're not brand aware. And so they're going to need a little bit of getting up to speed as to who you actually are. And so you're going to want to send the materials. I know for me, what worked for me and my client last year is we implemented something called the assessment. Now, the assessment is where the person's already booked a call. And so what you want to do is say the person, it's Wednesday and the person booked a call for Friday. I would have my closers just call them up and say, hey, I just was looking at your application. We can't help everybody. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions just to see if what we do would even be able to help? And most people are kind of, they're discombobulated at first. Hold on, I thought we already had a meeting on Friday. It's yes, we do. But I was reviewing your application. I just had some questions. Do you mind if I just ask? Because I want to be able to protect your time. And most people are usually pretty gracious and they say, yeah, sure. So you qualify them real quick, ask them a couple of questions, but then you say, well, look, we're on for Friday at noon Central. You know what I think would be really helpful is if, every quarter I send my clients a 100-point assessment. And I think as you're going through this transition of, really wanting to add on a side gig of Amazon FBA and not just be 100% in your 9 to 5, I think this would be really valuable for you to just kind of go through just so you see what's going to be required. It'd probably take you about 5 minutes, but if I send this to you, can you make the time to go through this? And most people are yeah, sure. If it's, not that much time, it's great. And, would it also be valuable if I sent you over some case studies of some of the other people that we've helped in your similar situation? Well, yeah, anything you could send me would be great. Okay, perfect. Cool. We're on for Friday at noon Central. I'm going to send that over to you here in just a second. Could you do me a favor? Yeah, sure. I'm going to text you once I email you. Can you just text me back just so I know that you got it? Yeah, that's not a problem. Okay, great. There was a lot that happened there, but that right there, that little bit is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars at least, if not $1 million. Because I'm telling you, when we implemented that pre-sales process, okay, my lady just scored a sale. I'm so happy. It just came in. When we implemented that, okay, our sales went up 50% overnight. So it was the difference between somebody just stumbling across an ad, finding us, and then kind of us hoping and praying that they're going through the materials. That's different than having an actual closer, sales rep, call them up, get their information, get the buy-in, and have them say, hey, in order for for us to have the most productive conversation, I think it would be really helpful for you to go through this assessment. And that assessment is a 100-point checklist. Now, it's just 20 questions. They rate themselves on a scale of 1 to 5. You get to decide what those 20 questions are. I'm telling you, if you implement this, it is a game changer. So, but what it does, and what I actually had our tech guys create, is once they submitted, the questions, most people got around like a 45 to 60, right? The average, freaking nature, said 93, which is, I don't think they were being honest with themselves. But what that does is when somebody finishes the assessment and they say, you scored a 43, they go, holy shit, I'm actually a lot further away from my goal. And there's a much bigger gap than I thought. And so when your closer has that first call, what's the first thing that they're going to do? They're going to ask them about that assessment, right? How is going through the assessment and getting a different perspective on your business? And they might say, yeah, I didn't get the best score there. And you go, yeah, there's certainly room to grow there. And that just starts the call out on the right foot. They're admitting that they have a problem. The gap is already created. You've already had a conversation with them prior. So it just allows you to get straight into the meat of things, okay, when you actually start getting into the actual sales conversation. So I'm going to stop there only because there's just so much more. And I could just have this be, an hour-long training. But this is a podcast, and I just wanted to just give you guys a dose of straight fire. Like, if you have a high ticket sales like offer and you're selling, or if you want to, these are the things that I would recommend. These are the things that I would recommend implementing. Last thing, if you don't have Slack or something like it, I would invest in it, because you want to have a place for your closers to be able to communicate, not just your closers, but your entire team, your coaches, your accountant. Slack is it's basically the industry standard for how people communicate, especially since, you can hire somebody from anywhere in the world. But a couple things with Slack that I think are just no-brainers, but it's a no-brainer to me. It might not be a no-brainer to you. So this is why I'm going to share it. Slack etiquette. If you have Slack channels and people aren't using the threads, then you might find that you have your Slack channels just a huge mess of people talking all over each other. So basic Slack etiquette is to, like, if you're talking about a certain topic, then respond within that thread. So it can be all contained within that thread. And then each new topic of conversation, AKA the thread, can go within, and it's nice and neat, and people can find things clearly in Slack. So that's the first thing. And I say this because I just got done having a conversation with another sales organization that their people were talking all over each other. And I don't know how they understand or get anything done within Slack. Secondly, when your closers close, I would create a dedicated sales channel. And in that sales channel, I would set up a Zap, right, that takes your CRM. Whenever your CRM indicates that somebody has been closed, that needs to create an auto bot post inside Slack that says deal one, or, closed, or whatever, the client's name, the deal amount, how much cash was collected, who the actual closer was, if there was a setter, and have that be posted inside the sales channel. And I would recommend your entire organization have access to that channel, because there is nothing that will motivate and activate your entire team, then for them to see sales coming through transparently, hey, here's what the sales team is doing. And then your other sales team, as you begin to grow and scale out, can see where they are on the leaderboard. Like there's no hiding. When I was sales manager for my client last year, we did not have any hiding whatsoever because everything was transparent. You could go and find out who was making what, who was closing, like what their closing percentage was. It was all there. So that's what I would recommend for you. If you're thinking of starting a high ticket sales coaching or consulting offer, these are the things that I've learned. These are the things that I helped my client implement last year. And like I said, having started from basically zero in February of 2022 to the end of December 2022, we generated 1.4 million. And it's because of these things and how we structured and set up that business that allowed him and the rest of the team to be able to create the results that we did. Okay. So I will dock the episode here. If you found this valuable, let me know. You can follow me on Facebook. You can go to Ben Perry. There's a million Ben Perry. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to www.fbben.com. FB stands for Facebook. So just www.fbben.com. That will take you directly to my Facebook profile, or you can follow me on YouTube. If you're not already watching the YouTube channel here, all you have to do is it's under the YouTube account Ben Perry, but if you type in the Pirate Marketing Podcast, you will find me. So with that being said, appreciate you listening, and I will catch you on the next one. Savvy.